Actually, we have a special guest. My cat is right here next to the computer. He's a libertarian, though, so
that's cool.
Sure. He's going to the Ron Paul convention.
I'm always afraid that I'll get an animal and it'll just totally be a liberal and the opposite of what I am, and we'll have to coexist. It'll be horrible.
Well, I think cats just basically, if you have a cat, that's definitely what they do. They're just going to be the opposite of whatever you are, just because that's the way cats are.
Yeah, I think cats might be sort of automatically libertarian just by their personality style.
That's right, although they are beneficiaries of the nanny state.
That's true.
Most pets are, really. But speaking of animals, actually perfect segue, or at least a segue, to talking about Sarah Palin. Huntress.
Absolutely.
Massive huntress. Diana.
Yeah,
Princess of the Forest.
A picture of her in the New York Times where she's sitting on a couch and she has like this killed grizzly bear like draped over it. I think her dad actually killed it.
I know. I mean, I guess we've already gotten into trouble with one vice president who hunts, So like, I don't know what to expect with Sarah Palin, but I guess you're less likely to shoot someone else in the face when you're hunting grizzlies,
Yeah.
But I'm not. But it's nice to know she can protect herself. It's also nice to know her pro-life, policy doesn't extend towards grizzlies or caribou.
That's right. And she is amazing, though. I mean, seriously, she's a mother of 5, a hunter, a fisherman. She's a beauty pageant winner. She's an athlete. Was a star basketball player.
She was, in fact, Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, I mean, most people who are, it seems to me, most people who get that far in politics are solely devoted to politics, that they don't really have any other, kind of extracurricular activities except for maybe golfing or shooting people in the face. So.
Right. Or basketball. Come on.
Yeah.
Gotta give Brock. She could go one-on-one with Brock, I think, for basketball. I mean, I don't think that it would be good to have, like, that replace the debates or anything, but I would like to see that game be played.
Yeah, and I think the other interesting thing is just, let's face it, she's hot. And I think, she's going to attract, there's a certain female vote element, but as I wrote on townhall.com yesterday, I think there's also a male vote, importance there too.
Just for the hotness? Are you really, I guess, I was always insulted, like, remember when actually, you're like a child, right? So maybe you don't remember when Quayle was nominated, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to get the female vote because he's a hottie.
Yeah.
And that was really insulting, but I guess men really are that shallow. So
I think they might be, but I remember the 88 convention, actually. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there, but I certainly wasn't, who's the guy, the movie star who kind of had that little...
Rod Blow, and that was at the Democratic convention.
I know it wasn't in his position in 88, but I do remember it, and, but I think the Bush, comparing it to 88, I mean, first of all, I think they completely dropped it at the convention, whereas with Palin, it's a couple days leading into the convention, and I think, even though Palin was not on the short list, her name had at least been, bandied about, whereas I seem to remember Quayle just being completely out of the blue at the time, so...
Yeah, that's true. I mean, she did come up, but mostly it's a blue sky pick, as it were, out of the blue. I mean, like, I think that there were a lot of conservatives that were pushing for her as sort of a change / mavericky choice, but not as mavericky as Lieberman, who I think, by the way, this has been said before, but I do think that if McCain, if running mates didn't matter, I do think that he would have chosen Lieberman. I think that he really wanted to... I think it's clear... I'd love to get your perspective on this, but I think it's clear that this choice shows that there's a little bit of the old man left. And he's not... He really wanted to make a choice that said something about who he was. I mean,
frankly, I am just ecstatic. And, yesterday at townhall.com, I'm not joking here, it had the feel of, at Christmas time when, there's sort of, people are walking on, Aaron, even your boss is kind of nice to you, even though he's normally not. I mean, just, everything just sort of seemed to have this sort of magical, feeling to it, and people are just ecstatic. And, this is, the old John McCain who's... And let me tell you, a month ago, people were afraid this was going to be Bob Dole Part 2, that he was going to be... And I really think this shows just, boldness, excitement, and, I give him kudos for making that pick.
I would agree with you on that, but here's my issue as someone who doesn't agree with Sarah Palin on a lot of stuff, which is that I don't agree with her on a lot of stuff. I mean, and to be quite frank, one of the things, as sort of, a moderate Democrat myself, one of the things I've always liked about McCain is that he bucks the party on a lot of different issues, including, let's just point out global warming. And as you know, I mean, one of the things I think that soothes a lot of people who were worried about John McCain and picking Sarah Palin is like that specific issue where she says she doesn't believe that global warming is man-made.
Yeah, I mean, and the other issue, I mean, they obviously have a difference on Anwar, and that's interesting because she represents Alaska. So there definitely will be, and I will say this, I mean, look, as I do think this represents McCain making a maverick pick. She has stood up. She's a reformer. She stood up to the good old boys in Alaska. It was an exciting pick, but I also think that, let's be honest. I mean, McCain could have made an exciting pick with Lieberman, but I like to believe the bloggers that are sort of complaining and threatening, had something to do with him picking her. I mean, in some small way. I tried to send a message and at townhall.com that, like, if McCain picked a pro-choicer, that all heck would break loose and that there would be problems. So, while I still think this was a courageous, bold pick, I would at least like to hope that, maybe conservative bloggers had something to do with putting pressure on McCain to do the right thing.
Now, here's where I'm going to jump in and say, like, I don't want our next president, conservative or liberal, to be listening to bloggers. How would you, wouldn't you be scared if Obama was like, you know what, those kids at Daily Kos have a point? I mean... Well,
here's the thing, though. I totally understand where you're coming from, without a doubt. But, I think that I would almost rather have him listening to bloggers than the mainstream so-called establishment media, for one thing. And I do
think that goes for Democrats, too? Would you rather have Obama be listening to, Josh Marshall on Talking Points Memo and Daily Kos rather than like ABC?
Of course not.
Okay.
I have a double standard.
Just asking.
Admittedly, I have a double standard. There's no doubt about that. But look, blogging is sort of a derisive term in some ways. But it's been said before, and I think it's true. That the founding fathers would be blogging if they were around today. I'm not comparing myself or anybody at Town Hall
to the
founding fathers. But my point is, if you're in the conservative movement, you obviously want to help nudge your candidate to do the right thing, because candidates are under pressure from all directions. It's not like we're the only people exerting pressure. And if we weren't out there, he would probably, be under pressure from other people, the mainstream media, to pick Ridge or Lieberman. So at the very least, we're just sort of a balance, helping fair and balanced, I would say.
So your argument is that the conservative blogosphere helped nudge McCain to choose Palin.
I have no, I have no proof of that, but I would like to believe that we did.
So do you think, actually one thing I've been hearing on the left this morning, kind of surfing around, is that Palin is Harriet Miers Part 2. Obviously better looking than Harriet. If Harriet Miers looked like Sarah Palin, I bet she'd be sitting on the Supreme Court today.
You may be right. But if she was as conservative, if she had a conservative record like Palin, I think she would be too.
Yeah, okay, see, that's the thing. Is I guess I see the analogy as being like she's inexperienced, and I guess people thought that Harriet Miers was a sop to the base. I mean, I think people in the mainstream media and sort of people who don't follow conservative politics very closely, when Harriet Miers was chosen, that looked like a safe conservative pick.
Yeah,
right?
But man, anybody who says that, I think it sort of betrays a misunderstanding of the conservative movement. Because, for example, I was writing at Human Events online at the time, and I was vehemently opposed to Harriet Miers, and most real conservatives opposed Harriet Miers. There were a couple of notable exceptions to that, but the vast majority of conservative bloggers were, bitterly opposed to Harriet Miers. And actually, I would use that as an argument for how the conservative blogosphere actually has impacted. Everybody sort of says that the net roots are more powerful than the right roots, but I would use stopping Harriet Miers as one long-term example of how we've maybe helped America be a little bit better.
Helped America. Yes, I think you are probably helped America. I'm going to even forgive the fact that you used impact as a verb.
My grammar is really bad, unless I have a typewriter, and then it's moderately better. But
no, a lot of really good people use impact as a verb. I just personally am against it. It's sort of the way I feel about a lot of politics. A lot of good people I disagree with.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, so I said at the beginning, I've sort of been I have found McCain's mavericky-ness, as much as I get made fun of sometimes, to be the most appealing thing about him. And to be quite frank with you, although you sound like a perfectly nice guy, and I'm sure that we'd have fun like having drinks together, the fact that you're so excited about Sarah Palin like really concerns me. And
well,
so, what do you say?
We should have drinks together.
Okay, we will. But tell me why, like, why I, as like someone who at one point thought I could be persuaded to vote for John McCain, shouldn't be like running for my life to the Obama ballot box now.
Well, I think first of all, it's a gutsy pick. I mean, all the smart consultants and the so-called people who know politics, I can almost guarantee you that they'd be advising against picking Sarah Palin. They're going to tell you to pick Mitt Romney or Pawlenty. So just in putting ideology aside, just in terms of sort of taking a risk and political courage, I think it was a great pick. I mean, look, here's the other thing, it's history. I mean, regardless of the motives behind the pick, and I have no doubt that there were strategic reasons for picking her, obviously, but we're going to have either the first African-American president or the first female vice president, and there's essentially no way of getting around that. I think that is exciting.
I think that's exciting, too. I mean, and in fact, actually, I gave myself permission yesterday for like 4 or 5 hours to not be cynical and just like appreciate the fact that there's a really serious female candidate again. Yeah. And I'm also like, I'm reminded, like, good conservative friends of mine when Obama sealed the nomination had the same kind of reaction. I'm just going to putting an ideology aside. This is a great moment for America. But here's the thing: is that like I guess it does concern me that she doesn't believe that global warming is happening, and that she doesn't and that she believes that we should teach creationism, and that the pro-life stuff actually doesn't bother me that much. I think that's a sort of reasonable people can disagree kind of area. But those things concern me, and she is inexperienced. She's not ready to be president, I don't think.
Well, I think she's actually more experienced than Barack Obama, though. That's the interesting thing. And he's running for president, not vice president. So
I would say technically, if it were like the 2-year senator versus the 2-year governor, I'm not sure. I think you have to say that's a pretty even split. Don't you? But they're not. But you're right. They're running for different offices.
Yeah, and she actually has executive experience. In fact, she's the only person running for president or vice president who has any executive experience, having been a mayor and of a small town, albeit, and having a very small town, and having been governor. So look, the experience. I think experience is important. There's no doubt that I think John McCain, has a tremendous amount of experience. So does Joe Biden. But historically, we've had presidents like Reagan and Clinton, and Abraham Lincoln was, some very, very minimal, military experience. I think he was a one-term congressman. Certainly, I'm not comparing her to Abraham Lincoln. But experience is important. As Obama says, judgment is important. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is many factors contribute to it. But I'm not worried about her experience. I think it's at least as good as Obama's.
Now, is there anything that worries you about her at all? Anything? Or do you think if McCain dropped out on the first day of office, it would be cool to have her as president? And I don't say that. I say that with love for John McCain, and I hope that nothing happens to him, and that he lives for, as Charlie Black said in the New York Times today, at least 4 more years. Most doctors agree.
His mom's
most doctors agree he'll live for
130 years old, so right. It's entirely possible.
Right.
But I'd say I have to be completely honest with you. I think the Palin pick is, in my estimation, a home run. I love it on so many levels. I love it for her conservative philosophy. I love it for the image. I love it, strategically. I think it fits. I think the way they rolled it out was just brilliant. I mean, a couple months ago, John McCain was, we were not that excited about him, and I'm getting ready to get, to head to Minneapolis, and. It's going to be a much more fun flight there, I can guarantee you. With Sarah Palin as our running mate, as opposed to,
Do you think you might actually be able to fill a stadium now?
I think it's going to be very, very exciting. I think, people are going to be blown away. And I think it was a home run. Granted, I mean, you never know how these things are going to play out. It could be that she's an axe murderer, and we're going to find out later.
There wasn't a lot of vetting, I understand. So it's entirely possible. I mean, isn't that true? Actually, so here's another question for you. I mean, the reporting right now is that he only met with her once before he decided to go with her. Now, do you think that's a cause for concern?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I think clearly, again, historically, what Harry Truman had coffee with FDR once or something like that. So, I mean, it's not unprecedented, but, it's certainly not what you kind of expect or anticipate. I will say this, though. McCain's the kind of person that, cannot hide. He can't fake things. He's not good at pretending.
No, he's not, which is one of the reasons why he's been a bad candidate so far.
The pictures yesterday of him, there's this one picture that's on the front page of the Washington Post. It's her, holding her fist up, and it's a very iconic picture. And in the background, you can see McCain just glowing. Yeah. And so there is a chemistry between them. And the pictures of them together, I wonder if it had been Mitt Romney, whom I also like Mitt Romney, but, I don't know if McCain could have hidden
I don't think he could have hidden it. I think they would have had to campaign entirely separately.
Yeah.
And I think that, I covered McCain during the primaries, and his distaste for Mitt Romney is pretty palpable.
Yeah, they all kind of hated him, didn't they?
I don't think Mitt Romney hates him nearly as much as he hates Mitt Romney. I think it's one of those you're right, he can't hide things. He could never, he, I think, appreciated what a great attack dog Romney was for him after the primaries were over. But I think he still held on to this, visceral, distrust and dislike.
And I think that's also the other, not to get too far ahead of us, but just to, depending on how things play out this year with Palin and McCain, the Huckabee-Romney rivalry, those guys hate each other.
Yeah, they do.
I see them colliding in 2012 potentially, or 2016, depending on how things shake out. I mean, this is like Ali Frazier,
I'm actually ready. I am totally beside the point in a way, but I spent most of this past week pursuing this really kind of maybe stupid story about if the two campaigns were basketball teams, what basketball teams would they be? And
Celtics Lakers, right?
Well, actually, let's see. The Obama team, I still haven't gotten a good answer yet, but I did wind up talking to Charles Barkley about it, and he said the Celtics, and then the last year's Celtics, and then I volunteered for McCain, the Pistons, the bad boy era Pistons, or the white guy Princeton offense. Mm-hmm. And Barkley thought it would be the Pistons, but because the only way they can win is win dirty, is what he said. But in talking to Barkley, and also I interviewed Reggie Love, Obama's body guy, who used to play basketball at Duke. And now I'm ready for the Barkley Love ticket. I think that would be awesome. And he could go against Palin.
Yeah, that guy. There's every once in a while a few people, random people. Let's say Lynn Nofziger is someone that I actually got to know very well. And I remember reading. I think it might have been Peggy Noonan said that if there was someone she could have gotten to know, it would have been him. Reggie Love seems like the kind of guy. I mean, he's not running for president, but he seems like one of the really cool guys that I'd love to just have a beer with.
Yeah, no, I think he is he could be a politician. He is really good. He's just a really cool guy. And how many people do you think said that about Obama when he was when they first met him? I think that's how it starts.
I want a body man myself, or a hand. I just think and a lot of times candidates, they resent having handlers follow them around, and they hate it. They try to shake their handlers. I would love to have somebody there. Hey, you got something on your shirt. I mean, I feel like I almost
I think
necessitate that sort of.
This is maybe a good note to end on. I think one thing that Obama and McCain have in common, actually, in this is that the people that they surround themselves with, they really need to genuinely like and have good rapport with. And I think if you look at the two body guys, you see that with both of them. I think Barack Obama and Reggie Love have a genuinely good friendship, and they like each other a lot. And I bet it doesn't feel like he's his body guy.
Yeah.
I don't think Obama would probably be comfortable with that. And I know McCain's body guy is actually a multi-millionaire venture capitalist.
Wow.
Who's basically taken the year off to follow McCain around. His name is Greg Wendt.
If a fight were to break out and things got ugly, though, could he step in like Reggie Love?
He could totally. He could. He's in good shape. I see him get up I saw him get up in the morning and jog every day, which I think is more than most McCain aides did. So.
Yeah, it's not the Bush campaign, is it? You don't have to be a jogger to get on the Straight Talk Express. You have to eat hot dogs and donuts and stuff.
But you have to walk really fast.
Yes, he does walk fast.
He does walk fast. Anyway, so any concluding thoughts? I guess I'll see you in St. Paul.
See you in St. Paul.
What's going to be the big party? What's the party I should try to crash?
Oh, geez. Well, there's the one campaign is having a party. CCM, the Coalition for Conservative Majority, is having Smash Mouth.
Wow.
So that's cool.
Maybe John McCain can get permission to play one of their songs at a rally, since he's having trouble with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard if you're a Republican, it's kind of hard to get songs. You can't play like Bruce Springsteen, you know. But apparently Smash Mouth is cool with it. And I hear Jacob Dylan wouldn't come to Minneapolis too, so... I have a guitar actually back here. I could do a couple ditties. Maybe we'll do that the next Blogging Head.
Okay.
So you'll be in Minneapolis?
Good to virtually meet you.
It was great to meet you online too.
All right, I'll see you in Minneapolis.
All right, thanks.